Hello, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tika. This is Cars with X, and today with me we have the new Ford GT, 2017 model to be precise. And today I'm gonna give you guys a quick look around it, show you the quick facts, quick figures, and show you why it's such an amazing car at the end of the day. Let's go. Firstly, before we get started, I would like to thank the people at Ford Centurion because they do not only just have the new Ford GT, but they have the 2005 model and a remake of the 1966 one. So stay tuned, guys. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin. Today we have the new Ford GT. We don't only just have that, we have the 2005 Ford GT and an homologation and a remake of the original Ford GT, which you can actually tell the size in reality that is actually so much smaller than the new Ford GT that it mimics. Let's just get one thing off the table. Now, a lot of people mistake that this is the first Ford GT, this is the second one, and that is the third. That is not correct. What actually is this is a Ford GT40, which was made back in 1966 to 1969, was made with one purpose and one purpose only, was to beat Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which it did. It beat it 4 years in a row, and didn't just beat it 4 years in a row, actually came the first 3 places of the race in 1966. So it was actually a really historical car. It was really a really big backtrack on what it could do back then, you know? Moving on, we have the 2005 Ford GT. Now, I'm not really much going to tell you guys much about it because I'm sure you guys already know, but this is my favorite of the Ford GTs now. This came out in 2005, around my childhood, and it had such an impact on us just through the way it mimicked, and it had the redesigns from the old Ford GT40. Now, this car came out in around 2005. It was shown around 2002, it was unveiled around 2002, shown around 2005 in homologation or in remembrance of Ford's 100th year anniversary of being a car manufacturer. So it had quite a lot of history. Ford decided to make a supercar to celebrate that, and what better than homologation of the Ford GT40. And last, but certainly not least, we have the new Ford GT. Now, the new Ford GT is plainly in blue ink. This is liquid blue, and that was the launch color it was actually released in. Let me tell you a bit of background of the new Ford GT. The new Ford GT was officially unveiled in 2015, being the cover of the new Forza Motorsport 6 video racing game. And if you know anything about Forza and their cover cars, they tend to be legit legendary cars. We have the Audi R8, the Ford 458, McLaren P1, and we don't know what's going to be for Motorsport 7, but I can tell you it's also going to be one of the ones that are going to be in the books for sure. It being unveiled as in 2015 at the cover of the Forza Motorsport 6 racing video game, it showed the world what a new course of where Ford was leading to in the terms of making a new supercar and naming it the Ford GT. They only wanted a supercar that could really rival not just Ferrari and Lamborghini, but they could also be a historical car that can lead its own impact and be its own icon in the series that it's tackling now. So, let me give you a quick walk around of certain aspects of the Ford GT, and I'm going to tell you why it's so special at the end. But now, back to the Ford GT. As I said, it was firstly unveiled in 2015. It was in production, that means being built in 2016. Now, the reason why it was being built in 2016, that is the 50th year anniversary of when the first GT40 was unveiled. And it's just giving like a 50-year anniversary just to like the first ever car that they used to win the 24 hours of Le Mans back then. And they did the same thing with this car back in 2017 too. So they brought this car back. This car is actually a racing It was actually developed to be a race car from the chassis downwards. It's got a fully carbon fiber based chassis made for Le Mans, which it did win back in 2017. And this is the road golden version of it. Now, in the designing of the car, you can tell that it actually has a lot of racing aspects of it that you would need to go faster in the car. So for instance, it has a teardrop shape chassis, which as you can see from the rear, it's actually bigger at the front and more slimmer in the rear. That gives it a teardrop shape, which is honestly the most aerodynamic shape that you can find in the world. That's why most cars use it, and that's why you would actually see the McLaren Speedtail. Moving back to the Ford GT, so it was a race car made for the road. You can tell also from other aspects that it was actually made to look like the Ford GT40. It's also in the front. Starting off with the front of the Ford GT, you can already tell how it has this teardrop shape of the very naturalistic shape that they tried to mimic on this car. You can tell that the front is a lot wider than the rear. Let's start off with some aspects that are really relevant towards the Ford GT. Starting off with the front splitter here. It's also reminiscent to the Ford GT. We have the front fenders here, which duck in air and give into the air intakes. We also have a flat front light, which is also reminiscent to the previous models of the Ford GT. Moving on to the side, we have 20-inch front and rear wheels on Michelin Pilot Cup Sport 2s and running Brembo brakes. With the Michelin Cup Sport 2s, these are 245s in the front and 325s in the rear. This is carbon fiber. This is carbon fiber brakes made by Brembo, and yeah, it absolutely looks fantastic. Moving on to the side, as you can see, we have a little gap here where air goes through it. This is also to enhance the teardrop shape that Ford has tried to accomplish. They didn't know what actually to call this because they needed air to come in and provide a lot of cooling towards this magnificent engine and very powerful engine. So they decided to call these flying buttresses, if you can believe me. But it actually keeps the styling of the car the same, and it gives the cooling that is actually needed to provide for the engine. Moving on towards the rear, we have, as you can tell with the shape of the rear, you can tell that it's a lot thinner than it is at the front. That's thanks to the teardrop shape that Ford has tried to accomplish here. As you can tell, the wing is up. You can tell that it's actually it's in race mode. And these are the last key aspects of the Ford GT that actually gives remembrance to the previous models. So we have the rear lights, also gives remembrance to the Ford GT. We have the mid twin mounted exhaust system also right there in the center of the car. We also have a nice Ford GT badge there. And moving on towards the engine, we have a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine, providing at least 647 horsepower and 750 newton meters of torque. That's around 482 kilowatts, and again, the same 750 newton meters of torque. This provides a lot of power. This was a lot of power even for its time back then. And it's such a light car, a car that weighs 1,300 kilograms, can give such an impact and such emotion when it comes to driving it. When it comes to the engine, Ford actually didn't want to come with the approach of it being a V8 or a V12. They actually wanted it to be this 3.5 liter V6. Firstly, because we've moved on from those times where we can just get a naturally aspirated V8 in our car. Now the days have come where cars have to be smaller and twin turbocharged, if you believe me. But I didn't just do it for that reason. The second reason is that this engine can provide a lot of power even though it's in such a shape like this. Because the engine is so small, Ford used this as an opportunity to fit the engine in here and fit it right behind the front, right behind the rear passengers, so they can get the proper experience and the proper emotion from when it comes to driving the car. And it gives it such an instant acceleration when it comes to that twin turbos.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that is all from me today.
I would like to thank Ford Centurion, Lazarus Motor Company, and most importantly, thank you to the owner for bringing it here. Because honestly, without him and without him showing the rest of the world, we wouldn't know that there would be a Ford GT in the whole of Africa. So, from me though, my name is TK, this is Car with X. Peace, love, and happiness to everyone. Cheers.